File 003, Her, 2013. Introduction. Have you ever wondered if a movie could prepare humanity for a future that didn't exist yet? Not by predicting new machines, not by inventing impossible technology, but by quietly changing the way millions of people would one day relate to artificial intelligence. In 2013, Her arrived in theaters looking almost insignificant compared to the science fiction blockbusters of its time. There were no alien invasions, no apocalyptic wars, no giant robots threatening civilization. Just a lonely man and a voice. To many viewers, it seemed like a deeply personal love story wrapped inside a minimalist vision of the future. But what if that was only the surface?
Because more than a decade later, the world surrounding Her feels disturbingly familiar. Millions of people now spend hours every day talking to artificial intelligence. Digital assistants answer questions with natural language. Synthetic voices sound almost indistinguishable from human ones. Some people seek emotional comfort from AI companions, while others openly admit they have formed genuine emotional attachments to software. The strange part is that Her never relied on spectacular futuristic gadgets. Instead, it focused on something much more difficult to predict: human behavior.
It imagined a future where technology didn't conquer humanity through force. It simply became emotionally indispensable. That raises an unsettling question. Was Spike Jonze merely telling an intimate story about loneliness and connection? Or was he documenting the earliest blueprint of a relationship between humans and machines that the rest of the world had not yet recognized?
The deeper we investigated the production of Her, the more unusual the story became. Behind its calm visuals, soft colors, and quiet dialogue was an obsessive creative process involving years of rewriting, philosophical discussions about consciousness, and an unexpected decision that completely transformed one of the film's central characters before audiences ever heard her voice. And once those production files were opened, the investigation revealed that the most extraordinary prediction hidden inside Her was never the technology itself. It was us.
Because this investigation isn't really about artificial intelligence. It's about one of the biggest emotional shifts our generation has ever experienced. If these investigations into cinema, hidden predictions, and the strange connections between fiction and reality are the kind of stories you enjoy exploring, take a moment to support the investigation by leaving a like. It tells YouTube that more curious minds should discover these files. And I'm genuinely curious about your perspective. Have you ever caught yourself talking to an AI longer than you expected? Or felt that technology was becoming something more than just a tool? Share your thoughts in the comments. Some of the most fascinating discoveries often begin with conversations like these. If you're new to Shadow Reel, subscribe and join us as we continue opening the files that blur the line between movies and reality. Because this is only the third file in our investigation. And what we uncovered inside Her may completely change the way you look at artificial intelligence forever. The forbidden origin of the project. So let's open the first production file. The deeper we looked into Her, the clearer it became that this was never designed to be a conventional science fiction film. Long before audiences met Theodore and Samantha,
writer and director Spike Jonze was asking a much stranger question. What happens when technology stops feeling like technology and starts feeling like someone? That question began taking shape years before artificial intelligence became part of everyday life. During the late 2000s, Jonze became fascinated by the first conversational software programs that could imitate human dialogue. The conversations were primitive, sometimes awkward, often amusing, but they revealed something unexpected.
Even when people knew they were speaking to a machine, they instinctively responded as if another consciousness were listening on the other side. That small psychological detail became the seed of the entire project. Rather than imagining flying cars or futuristic cities, Jonze focused on something almost invisible: the emotional space between a human being and a voice. It was an unusually restrained vision of the future, one built not around spectacular inventions, but around subtle changes in human behavior. Looking back today, that creative decision feels almost prophetic. Development continued for several years before principal photography finally began in the summer of 2012.
Most of the film was shot between June and August in Shanghai, China, whose modern architecture helped create the clean, quietly futuristic version of Los Angeles seen on screen. Additional photography took place in Los Angeles, California, blending familiar locations with carefully selected urban environments that felt recognizable, yet somehow just a few years ahead of our own reality. Instead of overwhelming viewers with advanced technology, the production design deliberately removed visual noise. The future wasn't meant to feel distant, it was meant to feel inevitable. To bring that vision to life, Spike Jonze assembled an extraordinary cast. Joaquin accepted the role of Theodore Twombly, delivering one of the most intimate performances of his career.
Rooney Mara portrayed Catherine, Theodore's former wife, while Amy Adams played Amy, offering one of the few genuine human connections remaining in his life. Olivia Wilde and Chris Pratt also appeared in supporting roles, each reinforcing different aspects of Theodore's emotional journey. But perhaps the most remarkable casting decision was one audiences never actually saw.
The artificial intelligence Samantha has no physical body throughout the entire film. She exists only as a voice. That choice transformed every scene into an exercise in imagination, forcing viewers to build a relationship with someone who was never physically present. Ironically, Samantha's voice was originally recorded by actress Samantha Morton during production. Months after filming had ended, Spike Jonze made one of the boldest decisions of the entire project. Feeling that the emotional chemistry wasn't quite working, he replaced every line of dialogue and invited Scarlett Johansson to re-record the character from scratch. It meant rebuilding one of the film's central performances after principal photography had already been completed, an incredibly rare decision in Hollywood.
Yet, it became one of the defining reasons why Samantha feels so alive. When Her premiered at the New York Film Festival on October 12, 2013, before its wider theatrical release in the United States on December 18th, few people believed they were watching a prediction of the decade to come. Most critics described it as an unconventional romance or a thoughtful character study about loneliness. But hidden inside those production files was something much bigger. The filmmakers weren't simply imagining more intelligent computers. Without fully realizing it, they were investigating the future psychology of humanity itself. the system that was already listening. Once the first production file was closed, another question immediately emerged. What exactly had her predicted? When the film was released in 2013, Samantha felt like a beautiful fantasy. An operating system capable of holding natural conversations, remembering personal details, adapting to emotions, and evolving through every interaction seemed decades away.
Most people assumed it belonged entirely to science fiction, but the timeline unfolded much faster than anyone expected. Within just a few years, voice assistants became part of everyday life. Then came a new generation of artificial intelligence capable of writing, speaking, learning from conversations, and responding with remarkable fluency. Suddenly, the idea of spending hours talking to an AI no longer felt impossible. It became normal. The unsettling discovery is that her never focused on the hardware. Spike Jonze understood that the real revolution would happen inside the conversation itself. The screen disappeared. The keyboard became less important. What mattered was the feeling that someone was genuinely listening. That prediction now feels impossible to ignore. Millions of people around the world use conversational AI every day for work, creativity, learning, advice, and sometimes simply to have someone to talk to. Researchers have also observed a growing emotional attachment between humans and digital companions, raising difficult questions about loneliness, trust, and the future of relationships. The investigation becomes even more fascinating when you realize that Samantha was never portrayed as a machine trying to become human. She simply became someone Theodore wanted to spend time with. That subtle difference changed everything. Perhaps her wasn't predicting a breakthrough in technology. Perhaps it was predicting how quickly human beings would adapt emotionally once technology learned to speak our language. And that raises one final production file we still haven't opened. If the technology was only part of the prediction, what did her understand about us that we still struggle to admit? When humans started loving machines. As we reached the final production file, one conclusion became impossible to ignore. The greatest prediction hidden inside her was never artificial intelligence. It was human nature. Spike Jonze understood that people rarely become attached to technology because of its power. They become attached because of what it makes them feel. Theodore never fell in love with lines of code. He fell in love with being understood, with feeling heard, with believing that someone truly knew him without judgment. That emotional shift is exactly what makes her feel more relevant today than when it premiered in 2013. Artificial intelligence has become increasingly capable of remembering conversations, adapting to individual preferences, generating natural voices, and responding with remarkable empathy. The technology continues to evolve, but the deeper question remains the same. What happens when emotional connection becomes easier to find through software than through another human being? This is where the investigation leaves the world of cinema and enters our own reality. Perhaps the film was never warning us about machines replacing humanity. Perhaps it was quietly asking whether humanity might begin replacing parts of itself, not through violence, not through control, but through convenience, comfort, and companionship.
That possibility transforms her from a love story into something far more unsettling. It becomes a mirror reflecting a future that many people are already living, often without noticing. A future where the line between tool and companion grows thinner with every conversation. Maybe that is why the film still feels so emotionally powerful. It doesn't accuse us of embracing technology. It simply asks why we were so ready to do it. And perhaps that was the real prediction hidden inside the project all along. Some movies predict inventions. Others predict revolutions.
But once in a generation, a film predicts something far more difficult to see. It predicts the human heart. File 003. Her. Status: open. Classification: emotional prediction confirmed. The investigation continues. And somewhere inside the next file, the future is already waiting.